This is beautiful. I love what you're doing here. And we need more conversations like this. It's so necessary.
Yeah.
So thank you for just creating a platform so we can talk,
Absolutely.
like really talk.
That was great.
But it's a really real thing. And the best way that I can describe it, and so I'd like for you to describe it, is to call it a vibration. But I don't know if that's accurate or not. How would you describe it?
That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
That's where my spiritual journey really started.
And that had to be perfect in a way, because it wasn't trying to push anything on you, any real ideology, right? So
that's exactly right. I would have resisted any dogmatic ideology. Frankly, I would have resisted just any idea of God or a higher power unless the circumstances of my life forced me to it. In a way, I've heard AA speakers and Al-Anon speakers talk about alcoholism being a blessing, because what is a blessing except for something that leads you back to God, where you came? So in a way, the fact that I had some alcoholism in my family, and the fact that I had hit this strange bottom was such a blessing for me, because it just led me in a whole new direction that there's no way I would have done myself.
Yeah, I'm wondering about like that first day. Like, did you feel like just some relief? Like, did something sort of just make you relax as you were listening to people, or do you remember what it felt like?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, and that's an interesting question, because a lot of people will come into that first meeting and they'll hear the exact thing they needed to hear. See, I got into Al-Anon because I figured, well, I know 12 steps, they talk about God and higher power. So I need to find a way to get this, whatever this God, higher power is, to get me my career back to the way it's supposed to, like to just make sure, to get everything back to the way it was. So all of a sudden I get to that first meeting and they're talking about letting go. They're talking about surrendering even more.
You're like, what the what?
I'm like, no, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to sort of like to the extent I'm even willing to believe in a God, I want that God to be kind of like my genie, who's going to sort of just get everything back. And I'm not hearing that.
Oh my goodness.
I appreciate the conversation too. Everybody brought a lot to the table. I was interested in hearing everything you all said. I thought it was very insightful, and I'm gonna take that with me in life too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I appreciate you.
Yes, agreed. Thank you so much for having me here. This is an amazing space. I love great minds and great conversations. So thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the things that I would love to convey overall with my podcast is how important it is for us to be in touch with ourselves and in touch with, what makes us sad, what makes us anxious, what makes us happy. And I have never shared this with Tanya, my lifelong best friend, and at least I'm pretty sure I haven't. I have shared it with one or two people, but I remember when this was in the 90s, when she was having her kids, her two oldest kids, and it wouldn't even be when she was having her kids. She might be pregnant, or it might just be that I would go visit, because I was living in New York City and she was living in upstate New York, and I would go visit and for a weekend, and I would come back and I would be really depressed. And it was because I wanted that family, not her family. But,
you
I
wanted to have the experience. Yeah.
I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a family, and no matter what, I might try to psych myself out. And I had to really acknowledge when I would get back home, okay, I'm sad, I'm depressed. I had to really process that. I mean, to be blind to that would just make it worse. I'm not going to say too much because Craig might not want me to, but we have had an exchange of life force through breath, which was his idea. And so, I mean, it's like what you just said is we can do that for someone else, Just like we might pray for someone else, we can have a life.
Yeah.
And we can also have an exchange of breath with someone else. This is some deep stuff.
This is some deep stuff. I've told just a couple people about that straw thing, but I've used it quite a lot. And I'm so amazed at the ability to connect with somebody virtually and have it really help, offer some love and compassion and healing.